Hello and welcome to this conversation with the Minister for Railways, Mr. Suresh Prabhu. We are doing this to mark 1 year of the NDA government, and Mr. Prabhu has a reputation for being a competent and efficient minister, and a lot of hopes rest on his own ministry, the Indian Railways, especially from the investment point of view. Railway is going to do a huge scale up in investments over the next 5 years, which by itself, I'm told, could add about 2% to the GDP growth. So he's a key man to watch. Of course, Mr. Prabhu has other responsibilities too. He's been Sherpa at our G20 interactions, and he also looks at the larger macroeconomic picture. Welcome to our show, Mr. Suresh Prabhu.
Thank you.
Now, give us a broad overview of 1 year of Modi government. Mixed responses, probably because of high expectations raised. So the businesses are saying, well, they still have hopes. Things are moving, but not at the same pace. And there are other constituencies which are also a bit impatient, probably also because of the kind of new energy and expectations that the NDA had built. So how do you see the situation today and over the next 1 year?
You know, we have tried to address so many of the concerns of the people, the economy as a whole, sectors in particular of various sectors, is whether power, whether it is natural resources, whether it is transportation,
Sure,
or whether it is related to social sectors and others. While we do that, we also realize that we have to get a global confidence in India.
Yeah.
So we have embarked upon that. Our Prime Minister was leading from the front. He has actually managed to do that.
That was the first big objective, to get confidence back.
Confidence back.
Both domestic and global.
Domestic, global, get technology, get resources from outside, sure, and also make India's market, the Indians, the market of the other countries available to the Indians. So all of that was done. Plus, we focused on some of the very key programs in addition to the sectors and the macro issues and the global policy, like social sector. If you take issues like financial inclusion,
yeah,
which we talked about.
Yeah.
So we thought that inclusion is something which should be discussed only in academic circles. Yeah. But we made it a reality in a shortest possible time. I would really compliment the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister. Jan Dhan Yojana, insurance campaign, unbelievable. And particularly in the insurance program is just started on 9th of May.
Yeah.
And already 6-7 crore people have joined. But had Jan Dhan Yojana not been in place, many of these could not be possible. So it was like a backbone. It was like a available infrastructure. And then we could piggyback on that and develop so many new ideas and schemes.
Yeah, okay. So you would, to some extent, you would concede that the foundation for Jan Dhan Yojana to some extent had been laid during the previous regime, but you really scaled it up, right?
I don't think, you can say that the UPA one was lucky that NDA's foundation could be used by them for a launching pad.
Okay.
But so the flight could go up to a particular level.
Aadhaar, DBT, direct benefit
but they had to come back again to the base because they did not invest enough into the infrastructure for tomorrow. So what we are doing today is undoing certain challenges like confidence level. It was something which was very low when we formed the government.
Okay.
Again, untangling the stuck project, which was also the legacy that we inherited. So all of that has been done, and in a way that lays down the foundation. But we should not stop at that because we have to make investments into various sectors that you mentioned, like railways.
Railways, yeah.
So railways will be the key to development of Make in India campaign.
8.5 lakh crore in 5 years.
And why? This is actually, in a way, I didn't take out this figure from the hearts anywhere, somewhere. This is the bare minimum that is required to sustain the efficiency of railways, to make sure that the operations run without the congestion that is associated with it today. We also modernize a bit, because not entirely, but modernize it. Yeah. We also invest into something which is so critically needed, like traffic facilities, because there is a clogged infrastructure which does not even allow any leeway for movement of trains. So we are all done doing all that. So this is going to be required.
And you don't have land acquisition problems with railways because you have right of way, right?
Not always. We have also many places land acquisition. But therefore when some people ask me, why don't you sell land? I said, I should sell now and then buy it 4 times the market price later. What is the purpose? Yeah. So I think we need that land. In fact, the challenge is how to keep it encroachment free. So that's what we are trying to digitize the land, etc. But the point I am saying is the investment we are trying to make into a sector which will enable us to launch on many other programs. Like for example, a Prime Minister's very ambitious and the most desirable program for the country, which is going to create jobs, which is going to create value addition. If you have manufacturing in India, just imagine the benefit. Just take one example.
In the context of railways, you're saying?
In the context of railways. I'll just give an example how what I mean in the context of
the
railways.
Ancillary industries, etc.
Absolutely. But I'll just give one example. All the years, we have exported iron ore from India and made other countries become giant in steel production.
Yeah.
And then we are very good because we supported their industrialization. Then we are also good, or rather better to them, by importing the same finished goods from them.
Yeah.
How does it make sense? Why I'm saying this in the context of railways? Because railways moved those iron ore, and when the finished goods were also imported, we moved them back. Suppose railways now play a role of making sure that we do not export it, but we actually create an internal transportation system available so that steel can go to different places, the iron ore can go to different places, so we can manufacture steel in India. Now, just for example, India is now, Tata Steel was the largest. Yeah. Now some other company, JSW is, for example, is producing more than double of what Tata Steel is producing.
Sure.
It has happened in no time. So that will make in India possible. If you make steel, we are.
So you're saying that you did not export so much iron ore to China.
That's right.
And import finished steel from Japan.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that is how we made it. And in a process, we actually damage our environment. And then what was the value addition? When we export just iron ore, just taking it out from the earth, so we are actually exporting Mother Earth.
Yeah.
So what did we get out of that? So now the railways and the Prime Minister's vision is, how do you make steel in India?
Yeah.
But just imagine the vision. It's not just waiting at steel, going beyond it and make heavy industry from that steel to be made in India. Can you not make power equipments in India? Can you not build all the different type of heavy machinery?
Sure.
That may be required for construction, that may be required for mining, that may be required for so many other purposes. Can we not make in India? Over a period of time, can we not make aircrafts in India?
Yeah.
And why should we import? Like Brazil is now make embryos that own aircrafts. Why cannot we do it?
They've created an ecosystem for aircraft.
Ecosystem you create. So the whole, but to make that ecosystem work, as the Prime Minister vision to be real, we have a role to play.
Yeah.
We must actually create the logistic support for movement of raw material to the factories.
Sure.
Take the finished goods from factories, export it if that is to be exported, or send it to the other parts of the India where the market is.
Do you think we need a Ministry of Logistics?
In a way,
I'm just it's just a thought, you know?
It actually speaking, it is needed, but at least to some extent, Prime Minister.
Railways does it to some extent, right? Logistics.
Yeah, we are actually planning one organization. I mean, subject to other approvals. It's a Logistic Corporation of India.
Okay.
Wherein you want to bring in all the different ends. See, basically, we must have at one single location all the different logistical aspects into one place. We are working on that.
Okay, because logistics is one area, as you said, which makes India uncompetitive today, because the time it takes for goods to come to the port, then to the facility, and then add value and send it back to the port. The turnaround time in India is one of the poorest compared to a South Korea or a Taiwan or Singapore, right? So isn't that a key problem with Make in India, which needs to be addressed?
No, you are absolutely right. And that's why we need a proper logistic support, in which not only the time but the cost of transportation also has
and
to
railway has a key role, important role
absolutely
to play.
And so this is one aspect, that either you not only turnaround time but also cost of transportation. Secondly, we cannot create industrialization and transportation system and logistical organization which create other issues. For example, environmental challenges. If you are using road, then the greenhouse gas emission from the road transportation will be much, much higher than the railways. So there
needs to be a shift back to railway transport. Railways have to reclaim its share of transport on the cargo side, right, as opposed to roads.
To do that, how do you get it back? We are almost at the time of independence.
Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor will address that to some extent?
Yeah, but also, if you have to make investment, if you are making 3 to 4 times more investment to roads than in the railways, this is obvious will happen. The roads will grow at the expense of railways.
Yeah.
So now we have to grow in a way that we don't have to do it at the expense of roads. Roads can also work, but we have to complement them. So roads, we can create trunk routes. We are now creating port connectivity. So from port, we bring it to the main road line. From there, to take it to the hinterland, maybe roads can do that job. But major lines, trunk routes, backbone, infrastructure, logistics could be supported by the railways.
Sure. Mr. Prabhu, here is where money comes in. And you are a chartered accountant by background, and you know financial engineering better than most ministers. Now, you have been going around seeking long-term financing for this huge scale-up that you are looking at in the Indian Railways, 8.5 lakh crore in 5 years. Now, and you say that you've actually worked the details backward. Now, where is the financing coming from? And I'd like you to tell us whether government-to-government deals are happening. Like Japan today has said that it's going to spend $110 billion. It's competing with China. A statement has come that they'll spend in Asian infrastructure. China is talking about spending big amounts in infrastructure in India. So, do you think that India is in a sweet spot? We just need to aggregate the Japanese and Chinese money and whatever, the dollars coming from the US and other countries, and just put it together? Is it that simple, or is it more complicated than that?
No, you're absolutely right. Let me first tell you that we are already tied up. In a sense, not tied up in a sense that the money has not come, but we know exactly from the money will come. For example, in the next 5 years, what we'll need, we'll get it from the LIC, we'll also get it from the World Bank, Asian Development Bank and the IFC. We'll also get it from the tax-free bonds, which the finance minister has allowed us to increase. We'll also get more from the India Infrastructure Development Fund, which the government is setting for 2 lakh crores.
Okay.
So we'll be able to draw from that. And again, the finance minister has been very kind. He has already increased our GBS. So if he increases little more, we can get about 2,50,000 crores from that itself. Additionally, we are getting about what we are proposing, that 8.5 lakh crores, about 1.5, which is for station development and things like this. Which is, if it happens, this money happens. If it doesn't happen, I don't have to raise money for it. That's only a cost of project. That's why we have taken it. Plus, we have already signed an agreement with Coal India for Odisha, for Jharkhand, and we'll do it for Chhattisgarh.
Okay.
We already done the same thing with the steel ministry. So that money I am getting from them and using it for development of railway line, and without putting our money, the railway lines will start earning money for railways.
Okay.
So it is a win-win for both. They get evacuation, we get our resources, and they have the money, so they can put it there.
Okay.
So money is arranged like this. Now to answer your other very interesting question, see, there is a huge global liquidity. We talked about global imbalances in terms of some countries acquiring large number of reserves, and that creating some sort of global imbalance, because if all the money is getting sucked into a particular country at the expense of rest of the world, then the currency and the global markets will get affected a bit. That was talk when the US was very concerned about losing their competitive edge, and the US became the largest importer. That's why they're running a huge current account deficit and also trade deficit. Now that situation has changed a bit because US is also rebalancing a bit. But India has a great opportunity. If you accumulated reserves and also you have huge domestic savings, in case of China 50%, in case of Japan also very high, plus Japan has pension funds, huge pension funds. Australia has $2 trillion of pension funds, more than the GDP. Scandinavians or the Nordic countries have the GDP, the pension funds. Canada has a pension fund. US has pension funds as well as private equity funds.
These are long-term funds, 30 years, 40 years.
30 years. Now, the key is what you have identified correctly is that we need funds for a long period, long gestation, long duration period. The maturity period should be long for infrastructure. If you get money for infrastructure to be repaid in 2 years and 3 years, it is a ridiculous idea. It is not a cash credit that you are taking for doing a working capital, where you can borrow like that. So you need to ensure, therefore, the long duration, long maturity tenure bonds or paper.
And where are you getting this from? Are you getting this thing from Japan or China?
No, we are not included in this 8.5, these two sources at all. But I am just talking about
you just included our internal domestic sources.
Domestic, and then again we'll have our own internal resources also to about 1 lakh. So we have that available now. But I am talking about the possibility, a huge possibility for a country like India is to benefit from this two way. One is the liquidity. Other is some of the countries like China have created overcapacity. So today they are dumping steel in India because their capacity is very huge. Just imagine why they have created steel capacity, because they wanted to create heavy industry. They have got 4 BHL in China, at least, maybe more. Like the BHL, they got 4. So Japan now, China has created that capacity for manufacturing this heavy industry. That industry also capacity has increased. Now they cannot put up more power plant like what they did in the past. So where do they export it? Now we have a great opportunity. Then again, they have
So you're saying that India should use that capacity, is it?
capacity one. I tell them we can manufacture in India.
India, yeah.
That's the Prime Minister's dream. Suppose we are going to import aircrafts.
Because importing from China may not be the solution, right? Straight import.
Because we have already a trade imbalance.
Yeah.
See, our target was to have $100 billion of trade with Japan, with China, which was actually more than 65 billion already, in which we had an adverse trade balance against India. Suppose we start manufacturing in India.
Suppose the Chinese and Indian joint venture happens here.
In India.
That's the solution.
That's one solution. Second is, so they can come with capacity to manufacture as well as money, because they have the money. So this is a win-win
Let's
situation.
talk of this Delhi-Chennai rail
We are
link,
talking to them for
high-speed rail corridor,
Delhi-Chennai speed railway.
which the Chinese want to do.
They are interested to do it. So we'll...
But tell me, Mr. Prabhu, I personally find this idea very attractive. But do you think our whole system has shed the suspicion historically that it has had against China? Do you think the Home Ministry will not, when the Chinese come with ideas which you find attractive, you could just get those ideas cleared at the level of Home Ministry, IB, etc.?
No, but
in the past, it's been a problem.
they have to be vetted undoubtedly. But at the same time,
more practical now.
It's a commercial transaction. Yeah. It is something which is going to benefit India. So whatever the safety concern, security concern, they will be vetted in any case by the ministry's concern. But commercially, it makes a lot of sense to create infrastructure in India, which we need $1 trillion for next 5 years. We need not only money.
Through local joint ventures.
Local joint ventures, so create employment in India, huge employment in India.
Yeah.
So it's a great win-win.
And tell me, do you think railway as an organization itself is prepared at the management level, at the level of workers, to really scale up on such a big scale? From what you're telling me and from the numbers that I see, 8.5 lakh crore over 5 years, you will need a substantial scale up. You may have to do things on a war footing, like we saw the Delhi Metro project run by Sridharan. So maybe you need some half a dozen Sridharans to implement many of these projects, right? Am I right in my understanding?
Yeah. That's why what we have done is, you're absolutely right. We have delegated most of these commercial powers. I mean, at least I have delegated 100%, but then board also delegated more or less, and we are delegating more to the general manager.
Okay.
So then what happens is the action is in there. So our implementation...
So are they mentally sort of prepared to...
It takes time. See, you can't blame them because suddenly you come and...
So you'd give them about 2-3 years to sort of...
No, not I don't think 2-3 years. They are already getting geared up for this. We are constantly doing a program with them, talking to them. Tomorrow, on the 26th onwards, we have got 2 weeks program.
So your reorientation is already on.
By talking to them, understanding them, and any case, see, their capability was never in doubt.
Never in doubt, yeah.
But only problem was that there are uncertainty. If you are going to take a larger project and next year you don't know where the money is going to come from, what is the interest that a project manager will have in implementation?
Sure, yeah.
So we are definitely doing that. We are also fixing responsibility, saying that this is your job, you must implement it. Now we have to do something more to make sure that the project team remains in place for a fairly good amount of time till the project is completed during the life cycle of the project.
Yeah.
Secondly, life cycle of completion of the project. Secondly, we also must have some incentive system.
Yeah.
See, in India, project get delayed, nobody is responsible.
Absolutely.
But if you complete in time, okay, I can understand.
So you're building that incentive
system. But if you do it beforehand, why you should not incentivize a person? If it is cost overrun, which is going to increase the cost of the project by 3-4 times, still nobody is responsible. But if you can complete in 20% less, why should not be incentivized?
Absolutely.
So I think we should need to put that in place also.
So you're doing that. And are you getting some lateral expertise also from outside?
That is not that easy because in organization like railways, because we have more or less the internal promotion. But I think people are really good. Our asset is people. We have to leverage them by giving them training maybe, but also getting them exposed to what is happening all over. And their commitment is absolutely fabulous. So I think we'll be able to use that as a strength and try to leverage on it and try to build tomorrow's railway. Okay.
Now, when you talk about reorienting the management of the railways, there's a problem which the railways have historically had. I mean, I'm not saying it's a problem with this government. Its procurement system has been found to be very primitive. And there was the previous government was trying to bring a law, I think it was called Public Procurement Law, which didn't happen. It was a very critical law, which was looking at making procurement more transparent and therefore more effective. So do you think railways today, its tendering system, etc., do you think it's free of all the old maladies embedded in the procurement system?
No, you're absolutely
including
right.
Corruption, of course.
No, that's why first thing I did was, when I became the minister, I had to come to Railbhavan to take charge. But even before I came to Railbhavan, the then chairman Railway Board had come to receive me at a guest house where I was staying. I told him my first decision as a railway minister is to delegate all my tendering powers.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So that has already been done. Now we are to codify it. So wherefore the codification is also already on. We are already moving towards a e-tendering system, which are done, but I want to expand it quite a bit. In that, we are already trying to make sure that e-tendering should not remain an independent of the overall mainframe of what we really need to do as an IT superstructure. So we are already creating a roadmap for that. This will be a small portion of that, so that everything will get integrated finally. Even operations should be monitored online. We should be able to, over a period of time, if there are CCTV cameras, and now there's a technology coming which is so cheap, you can even watch what is happening on a particular station sitting here. So why should not we do that?
Absolutely.
Therefore, I think we are planning to do something like this, but you are absolutely right. There's a room for improvement always, and we are trying to do that.
Also, one more thing, when railway, when they borrow heavily from, say, abroad, foreign loans, of course, in the initial period you said it will be domestically raised money. Railways will also, I presume, will have to have a good balance sheet. You'll have to keep showing surpluses for the foreign lender, pension funds, etc., to be convinced that it's a good balance sheet. Although inherently railway is a good balance sheet because it has captive customers. It's a monopoly. There is no other organization providing this service. So are you looking at sort of those aspects also?
Yes. We have already put in place. I announced in my budget speech, we are acting on it, is to change a reform or accounting system. Not just make it from single entry to double entry. Not just moving it from cash to accrual, but go something beyond that. So we are already working on that. Still the project was already there, but I want to completely revamp it and make it from budgeting till the expenditure is incurred and tracking it beyond it to make sure that the intended outcome are captured at the time of budgeting itself, and so that we can actually evaluate that process at a time after the expenditure is incurred, whether real benefit.
So you are actually looking at overhauling that entire accounting system. So finally, I want to go into a macro question. Your government strategy from the budget, Mr. Jaitley's budget also, it's very clear that your private investment is not forthcoming yet for various reasons, global recession or whatever, global headwinds. Now, your strategy is hinging on really scaling up public sector investments. And railway is actually taken the lead. And there are other public sector companies. Power, for instance, Mr. Piyush Goyal has issued tenders that NTPC will pick up companies, power companies which are not able to, private power projects which are not able to complete for various reasons. Similarly, ONGC. So do you think that the first 2-3 years will be really the public sector which will play a big role in lifting investments and therefore producing higher GDP growth?
No. Not 2-3 years necessarily, but definitely to begin with, we have to step up public spending and on capital. See, this is a very good idea that if you...
Yeah, that's what I mean, capital, yeah. It's a capital expenditure.
So public expenditure on capital account is a very good idea. It is a capital expenditure which will result into creation of assets and eventually will bring in. And then the private investment come in. Why it is necessary also because we had large number of private sector projects, particularly infrastructure, were stuck in the previous government's time. So unless that is untangled and the money comes out of from that, the people may not have resources to put it. The banks also have taken sectoral exposure. If you can give a lending to a power sector, say 30% of your balance sheet, they cannot go beyond that because you exceeded the prudential norm. Therefore, we have to do that public spending to begin with. Railways have 1 lakh crore plan for this year, which is double than previous year, or not even double, more than double from the previous year, which is substantially higher. I think if all goes well, the next year plan may be even bigger than this plan. And the third plan may be even bigger than the second plan. So in the 5 years cycle, if we spend this, the next 5 years would be probably even much higher than what we have planned for these 5 years.
Okay.
If you complete those 2 cycles of 5 years each, in which you make investment like this on a continuous basis, on an incremental basis, 10 years later you will see a substantial change in railways atmosphere, and the ability to retain excess money that we can make from this will be higher. So we can plow back that money into the railways. The railways will be able to invest more, and then the vicious cycle of underinvestment leading to no investment leading to lack of revenue will be completely become a virtuous cycle. That's what we are planning to do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Suresh Prabhu, and hoping that you railways take the lead actually in lifting GDP growth over the next 2-3 years. That's all we have for now. Thanks for watching.